All right, we've arrived at a ginormous topic here, folks. Improvising. We've kind of been working our way up to this since day one. Maybe you've already been experimenting with this some. I hope you have. And I want to encourage you as you work your way through this course. If you've been going since the beginning, high five for you. There's been a lot of material to kind of dig through here, so I'm excited if you've gone through all the videos, because that means that you've got a lot of things in your toolbox to work with here. And that's the whole point. We can't just wake up one day and know how to improvise on an instrument, right? We have to start somewhere. We have to have a foundation that we build on to basically be able to know what to do. But at the end of the day, improvising is a little bit hard to teach, because improvising is totally making things up on the fly. If I told you this is exactly what you have to do, then it wouldn't be improvising. But what I can do is give you some concepts, some things to think about, some ways to practice taking the knowledge you know and applying it, taking the things you've learned and applying it to other situations, to other songs and solos, things that you've not tried to play before. So if you're in a jam and somebody calls a tune that you've never played before, at some point you're going to have to trust that you have some building blocks, okay? So at this point, if you have been following along from the beginning, you've got a lot of good things to work with. You may not believe that you're ready, but I believe you're ready. And after all, you know, it's our end goal to be able to play music on the mandolin, and play with others in any situation, right? Whether we know the song or not. So first off, you may not feel like you know at all where to start with improvising, but the truth is you already improvise every single day. What do I mean by that? I'm improvising right now, not on my instrument, but with my voice, with my speaking voice. Okay, I know that I'm talking to you in a video about how to improvise, but the way in which I'm going to explain this and tell you the story and give you the roadmap is completely improvised, right? I'm not sitting here, you know, just reading off every little phrase I'm saying. I'm trying to express it through the knowledge that I have with my speaking voice. And so you do the same thing too. You speak to your friends, you tell stories. We've all been speaking since we were little kids, so we don't have to think very hard when we speak. It just rolls off our tongue, right? And so that's how we want music to eventually feel to us, that we have all of the tools that we need to just play music, and at the end of the day, be able to play in the key of G and kind of trust that and know how to play in G without having to think too much. I really feel like the best improvising can happen when we don't have to sit there and think 1, 3, 5, arpeggios, oh, flat 7, Bill Monroe lick. This is not the kind of things that we want to eventually be thinking about when we're improvising. We want to get to a place where we can have these things naturally ingrained into our fingers, into our ear, into our instrument. And when I've really had some of my best moments as an improviser, I'm usually also surprised by what comes out, you know? And so I think that can be a really fun place to get to. And of course, we never reach the end of what there is to learn. So that's the fun thing too. It's like there's going to be days where I feel like I can really play what I hear in my head. And then there's days where I feel like, ugh, everything I play sounds bad to me. I can't get out what I want, you know? And it's the same thing as, like, you know, on some of these videos, you'll hear me stutter a little bit and stagger, and I won't speak as clearly as I want to sometimes. And that's human nature. We aren't perfect, right? So music isn't going to be either. So at some point, we have to start trusting the knowledge we have, be willing to apply it, be willing to crash and burn a little bit, and sort of sound bad in the process of learning. And I know that can be hard. I started working on this stuff when I was about 10 years old. I'd been playing a couple years when my dad started encouraging me to improvise. And I remember him saying, well, try to play solo on this. And I think it was the bluegrass tune Little Maggie. And it was in the key of B, you know, which felt intimidating. And he said, well, just try to play anything. And I was like, but I don't know what to play. And it just, you feel so lost at first, like, what do you do? And then it dawned on me, well, I may not know how to play Little Maggie, but I do know some things in the key of B. I had learned a couple solos. I had possibly learned a tune like Rebecca. So we have to start thinking, I know where some B scales are. So you have more access to information at this point than you realize. It's just a matter of kind of slowing down and allowing yourself to kind of put a little faith in what we've learned so far. Okay, so if we think about how we improvise as speakers, right, when we're just talking to each other, I can tell you a story one way of something that happened to me, or say I watched somebody cross the street and they did something funny and I'm trying to tell a story to one of my friends. And say somebody else was standing right next to me and they tell the exact same story to their friend, but they're going to say it slightly different. They're going to explain it through their experience, and it's going to sound different than when I explained it to my friend from my experience and my lens, right? But at the end of the day, both friends that we've both told the story to will still be able to know what happened, how this guy crossed the road and whatever happened. So music is like that too. I could play an improvised solo on Old Joe Clark or Turkey in the Straw, and somebody else could too, and we'll play it slightly different, but hopefully, it still sounds like Turkey in the Straw. It's just going to have my personality, my musical experience built into the solo. So that's really all we're trying to get to here. So much like speaking, when we're little kids, we start out, we can't speak with proper grammar right away. It'd be unrealistic. You would never look at a little 2-year-old starting to learn their first words or whatever and think, oh, I can't believe they're not speaking full sentences yet. You wouldn't do that, okay? You start out saying simple words. Sometimes one word at a time might be all a little kid can get out, but you start to understand what they mean, right? So our scales and our chords, they're a little bit like our ABCs. And then we start learning phrases, musical phrases. I've been pointing out phrases throughout all the fiddle tunes we've learned and pointing out how hopefully some of the things we're learning connect back to the chords. So think about your scales and your chords as your ABCs. Think of phrases as little sentences. We're starting to put our words together, right? And so then with those words, we have these sentences. And then our tunes are kind of like telling our stories. So it's really not that different. You've had the experience of learning to improvise. It's just now you've done it your whole life, so it feels second nature. For me, I've played mandolin for what feels like my whole life now, so a lot of being able to improvise on a basic tune like Old Joe Clark or Turkey in the Straw feels very second nature. I don't have to think about it very much. I know how to apply my knowledge and make it happen. So that's the goal, but also it takes a long time to get there. And so you have to kind of be patient with yourself and work through this stuff. Again, be willing to crash and burn and sound bad. So that's my pep talk. I know it's easier for a 10-year-old. When I was 10, everybody thinks everything you play is cute. It's easier to sound bad and everybody go, well, look at that cute little girl. And maybe you're my age now, or maybe you're 50 or 60 and you're working on something and you might be a genius at whatever else you do in life, and it's kind of embarrassing to make yourself that vulnerable to sound bad playing Turkey in the Straw on the mandolin, but hey, it's part of it. I'm in your corner. I know you're gonna do great. So go to a jam, work on this stuff, play, don't be afraid to play. Don't be afraid to get in there and try to take a solo on something that you haven't before. You got to start somewhere.